What's up guys, it's Ryan here, and welcome to testing out the Ek-ZekKil. The EZK used to be the weakest legendary weapon in all of RuneScape, but that's just changed in a huge way, as it's been completely remade, and now it's really cool. I tested it out at a number of bosses, so let's get right into it. For starters, the special attack got completely remade, and now, instead of being a high damaging bleed that is best used inside of an Essence of Finality amulet, the new special attack called Igneous Showdown lets you do this. Bang! See you, idiot! It's quite literally the most powerful special attack or ability in all of RuneScape, and it absolutely cooks whoever's unfortunate enough to be in your way. Here's exactly what it does. Igneous Showdown costs 50% adrenaline and has a 60-second cooldown. When used, it permanently marks your target as your rival, which does three things. Any damage you deal to your rival with the Ek-ZekKil from this point on is going to be boosted by 12%, and any damage you take from your rival while you have the EZK equipped is going to be reduced by 12%. But last but not least, if you recast the special attack on your rival, you're going to get 3 additional hits, each dealing between 215 and 235% damage. On top of the extra 3 hits, you're also going to get 15% adrenaline refunded, which is a nice touch. And if you're wondering how much total damage the recast special attack does when you stack it with all of the other melee damage boosts, it's 120,000 damage just about every single time you use it. This special attack is extremely interesting because it basically takes a full minute to charge up, but after that, so long as you're on a consistent target, there is genuinely nothing like it in all of RuneScape. A perfect boss to illustrate this is Araxxor, because that first phase lasts exactly 1 minute, so you can losslessly use the Ek-ZekKil spec at the start of the fight, and then once the web is burned down and you're able to actually deal damage to Araxxor and progress through the fight, you've got it charged up and ready to go. All it takes is a little Dragon Battle Axe special and the Dragon Scimitar special to make sure you're on 100% hit chance, and then as soon as you shoot down the path with a power burst of acceleration and get back on Araxxor, it's as easy as using Chaos Roar and then that Ek-ZekKil spec to completely wipe the entire phase 2 and 3 for the easiest Araxxor skip of your life. This allows you to head into phase 4 with Berserk and all of your other strong melee abilities off cooldown, which is going to let you cruise to the easiest Araxxor Master combat achievement timer you're ever going to see. So yeah, that's pretty ridiculous, especially considering I'm not even in any kind of ultimate ability right now. That's just a straight up Chaos Roar Ek-ZekKil spec, and it does that much damage. I also wanted to mention that partway through recording this video, I did use a Shard of Genesis to make my Ek-ZekKil tier 100, but not in that clip. That is with these straight out of the box tier 95. It probably goes without saying, but on Minion Path Araxxor, the Ek-ZekKil is an absolute S tier weapon, and it is unreal here. There is no weapon I would rather bring to Araxxor, and it makes consistently farming this boss a breeze. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before I go to more bosses, I need to tell you about the other new things about the Ek-ZekKil, because in addition to having a new special attack, it also gained a passive. When it's equipped, the EZK now modifies 3 of your abilities. First, it makes Smash deal significantly more damage. Second, it makes Quake give you and your teammates 4 affinity instead of 2, giving you more accuracy. And by far most interestingly, it makes Pulverize, the ultimate ability that gives you and your entire team 25% damage reduction for 30 seconds, only costs 60% adrenaline instead of the usual 100. This stacks with the Ring of Vigor passive and the Conservation of Energy relic, so now you've got Pulverize for 40% adrenaline. Of these ability changes, Smash is by far the most widely useful because it takes what was usually a decent basic ability and makes it pretty much the strongest one in your kit. If you're using the EZK, you have my permission to smash at will. And speaking of things you can smash at will, I wanted to thank you all so much for 75,000 subscribers, but also remind you that if you're one of the 50% of people watching this video that are not subscribed to the channel, you can hit that subscribe button to see more videos just like this one. Next up, Quake, which is pretty niche, but I did find it helpful at bosses where I struggled to reach 100% hit chance like Vorago. Although considering the Ek-ZekKil is a slashing weapon, next time you need more hit chance for yourself, you're definitely better off using the Dragon Scimitar special. It offers so much more hit chance, and unlike Quake, it's applied to your character, so you can switch targets and still always have 100% hit chance. The only time I would bother using Quake is if this had been a group Vorago kill instead of a solo one, and I wanted to give some extra hit chance to my teammates. Outside of that specific scenario, the Dragon Scimitar is a whole lot better, and this buff version of Quake is not the most useful. For For Pulverize, this feels absolutely tailor-made for group content, and is especially great at Zamorak. Pulverize is going to make a massive difference for you and your teammates, and the same can be said on Phase 7, where it massively reduces the big bomb for the entire squad. Pulverize went from being an ability that you would almost never use, and now with its reduced adrenaline cost, you can basically use it whenever you need to. In a Berserk, I found it frequently hit 30,000 damage, so it's not even bad for DPS, and then you can just reap the benefits of that damage reduction for the next 30 seconds. Overall, this buffed version of Pulverize is really cool and extremely worth using, especially if you're the kind of person that likes to bring melee to places where melee may not be the most recommended. Before we try this thing out at a ton of different bosses, there's one other thing I need to mention about the Ek-ZekKil. Because it's considered an obsidian weapon, you can actually wear the Berserker Necklace for 5% additional damage. Now, be warned, this comes at the cost of an Essence of Finality, so if you're someone that doesn't like switching amulets whenever you want to use an EOF special, this one isn't for you. But this is technically better damage than wearing an Essence of Finality by about 2%, assuming you have 100% accuracy. So if you're really trying to push your limits, not only is the Ek-ZekKil back, but the Berserker Necklace is too. Okay, now that we've gone over the changes, let's go to a bunch of different bosses with our Ek-ZekKil, and let's find out how it performs. For starters, why don't we head to Zamorak, the Lord of Chaos, where I started things off by doing some 500% enrage kills with melee. I've got to say, I'm not the world's biggest fan of this, because especially for phases 1 through 6, having to stand on the pad to charge it up while Zamorak is farcasting you and attacking you from away is really frustrating and annoying, and it just feels very clunky. I think if Zamorak stayed in melee distance to your character, this would be a million times easier, but in general, I'm probably not going to switch to melee camping Zamorak anytime soon. But that's the first 6 phases. What about phase 7? The brand new Ek-ZekKil is a literal cheat code for P7 Zamorak. It was as easy as using Berserk, using Chaos Roar to kill the last rune, and then all it took to finish off the boss entirely was 2 abilities, Dragon Claws, and then my trusty Ek-ZekKil spec to finish the job. But what about at 1000% enrage, where phase 7 Zamorak has 250,000 life points, and that is actually the cap that it stays at forever. So if this works at 1000% enrage, it will actually work at every enrage all the way up to 60k. Well, this time around, it's a little bit more complicated. Instead of using Chaos Roar to kill the last rune, and then using a Dragon Claw special followed by the Ek-ZekKil spec, we're actually going to have to add 1 extra ability, being Overpower. And in that 3 ability super combo, we are one-shotting phase 7 completely from full before the bomb kills me. This is absolutely fantastic and a ton of fun too. And to me, as someone that just recently pushed my Zamorak enrage to 2000%, where I'd use magic and I'd bring a full Necromancy switch as well, with the brand new Ek-ZekKil, I would ditch the Necromancy swap completely and replace it with a melee swap. Not only is it an absolute cheat code on phase 7, but it's also really good on phases 1 through 6, because anytime you need a little bit more damage to finish a phase you're trying to get done, you can throw on the Ek-ZekKil, you can Chaos Roar, and you can easy K-spec for a ton of damage. Overall at Zamorak, for phases 1 through 6, the Ek-ZekKil is pretty good, but on phase 7, it is an absolute cheat code, and it is now the absolute easiest way to one-shot that phase. Whether you're just starting your journey at Zamorak, or you're ambitiously trying to climb the enrage brackets, the Ek-ZekKil is a weapon that I would highly recommend and that you may want to consider. After completely melting Zamorak, the Lord of Chaos, let's head to Zemouregal and Vorkath, where the only way to make this boss remotely palatable, in my opinion, is to skip literally every single mechanic of the fight and perform a Zemouregal skip, which is where you deal 500,000 damage to Zemouregal during the flight window in order to completely skip the entire phase 3 of the fight. The way that this works is I'm actually going to start the fight by using the Ek-ZekKil special attack on Zemouregal even though he's immune to damage, so that a minute later, when I'm ready for my DPS window and I'm trying to do that 500,000 damage, it is now off cooldown again and I've already got my Flamebound rival set, and that way we're going to be able to use the Ek-ZekKil spec for 120,000 damage. This is definitely one of the more complicated rotations in RuneScape, but the Ek-ZekKil has been a complete game changer for the Vorkath meta, because previously you would need both perfect execution and to get pretty lucky on your damage output in order to get this skip. And now, with the Ek-ZekKil, if you do the rotation right, it is actually 99% consistent, which is kind of insane, but that means that the meta for hard mode Vorkath, technically speaking for kills per hour, is to do this exact rotation over and over and over again, farming kills that are somewhere between a minute and 20 and a minute and 30 seconds apiece. If you're interested in learning this rotation, by the way, I've linked it in the description down below, but all that to say, the Ek-ZekKil absolutely excels here, and it enables a method and a rotation that completely changes the game for anyone that wants to do hard mode Vorkath. I will say buyer beware on this one though, because it is a very difficult rotation. It is a lot more complicated than anything else that we have done or will do in this video. After absolutely blasting Zemouregal and Vorkath, let's head into the Sanctum of Rebirth. Based on the recent data stream that Runescape just did, the vast majority of players choose to use Necromancy, and on the surface, that makes sense. Necromancy is definitely the easiest combat style here, and the Sanctum is a place that is not terribly forgiving. But there is one reason why melee is actually better than any other style at the Sanctum of Rebirth, and that is the Consecrated Keris, which is a reward from the Beneath Scarabus Sands quest. Unlike the regular Keris that only works at Kel fights, the Consecrated Keris also works against followers of a Masket, and that includes all 3 bosses in the Sanctum of Rebirth. And with it, you've got a tier 80 augmentable weapon that also deals between 36 and 40% additional damage against the Sanctum bosses when paired with a Desert Amulet 3 or 4. Because of this though, when we're testing out the Ek-ZekKil, we're not actually going to be using the Ek-ZekKil for the majority of our abilities here. Instead, we're going to be using the Consecrated Keris in our main hand with an offhand Legsword, but I will be using the Ek-ZekKil as a special attack switch. At Vermix, we dropped an easy case back on phase 1 so that we could use it again on the 3rd phase and get an absolute ton of damage. But at Keslam, things got even more interesting, because instead of using the Ek-ZekKil special attack on Keslam, before the boss fight started, I actually ran over one of the pillars and then made the pillar my rival, which is kind of funny to think about. And then when it was time to deal with the pillar, it was as easy as using Chaos Roar and the Ek-ZekKil spec to completely one-shot it from full HP. Being able to do this is actually a really significant advantage. During the pillar phase, Keslam is constantly healing, so you do want to take care of the pillars as quickly as possible, and being able to effectively one-shot one of the pillars is extremely solid, and this made the Ek-ZekKil feel very useful at Keslam, even though I wasn't actually using it against Keslam. But what about at Nekatra? Well, at Nekatra, it was more of the same. I made sure to drop an Ek-ZekKil spec during the first phase, and then there is a brief window after the Nephthys phase where before heading into phase 4, you can deal a couple abilities of damage to Nekatra. This is considered a pre-phase, which effectively means I'm going to take some damage off of phase 4 before phase 4 starts to make the phase easier for me. And oh my goodness, the pre-phase with Chaos Roar Ek-ZekKil is absolutely insane. Starting phase 4 with 390,000 life points instead of 480 is actually crazy, and then having the ability to swap to that Ek-ZekKil again for another special attack at the end of phase 4 to make sure I finished it off is just ridiculous, and it is hugely helpful. So overall, even though I wasn't actually using the Ek-ZekKil as my main weapon in the Sanctum of Rebirth, if you're doing any kind of melee Sanctum, the Ek-ZekKil is something that I would consider exceptionally useful and borderline a must-have. Next up, it's Solak O'Clock, where the Ek-ZekKil performed extremely well. I still think if you're going for your first solo Solak kills, you'd be better off using a combat style like Necromancy or Magic just to get a little bit more damage reduction, because there were points where I felt like I was taking a lot of damage. If you're a player that isn't super comfortable with soul split flicking, you probably don't want to be melee camping this, but there were some very distinct advantages. First off, hitting all of the phase points is extremely easy, especially knowing that for the entire duration of the fight, anytime you need a little bit of extra damage, you hit the Chaos Roar and you hit the Ek-ZekKil spec, and just like that, you've done another 120,000 damage. But the thing I wanted to highlight most about bringing the Ek-ZekKil to Solak was phase 4, because we were able to clear the entirety of the 4th phase in 4 abilities. In a Berserk, it was as easy as using Chaos Roar, the Ek-ZekKil spec, Overpower, and then Hurricane to completely finish off the entire boss. This also has me thinking that if you were trying to learn solo Solak or do it for the first time, you might be relatively well served bringing a melee switch for the 4th phase if that is a phase that you struggle on. You're definitely better off using a different style for the first few phases, but in terms of being able to burst 200,000 damage, the Ek-ZekKil is absolutely the best of anything you're going to find in the game. But what about Vorago? At Vorago, I had a similar experience. I do want to note here that I believe the fastest way to get Vorago kills in RuneScape is with melee, but it requires an extremely high degree of proficiency that I do not possess. So I basically went in here and I tried my very best, but nothing I'm doing here is particularly meta or particularly perfect. The Ek-ZekKil performs just okay at Vorago because your Flamebound rival is going to clear between every single phase. This is a little bit frustrating and a little bit annoying, and it basically means you can't really properly take advantage of it at any point in the fight. And the same can be said about phase 5. In order to push Vorago forward, you need to deal an amount of damage that is somewhere in the ballpark of 20 to 30,000. Whereas anytime Vorago damages you, you get pushed backwards, and it's a game of tug of war. But because of that, Vorago's HP doesn't really matter, and using the Ek-ZekKil spec to do 120,000 damage is more or less a complete waste, because it's still only going to push one square. Because of this, the Ek-ZekKil special is actually not particularly good at Vorago, and you're going to have better use cases somewhere else. Was the Ek-ZekKil good enough to get the job done? done? Absolutely, but Vorago was not a place where it particularly excelled. The one positive I can come up with for the Ek-ZekKil at Vorago is if you have a Flamebound rival, you are going to take 12% less damage, and considering Vorago does do a lot of damage, that might be a good niche use. But in general, the Ek-ZekKil did not shine here. At Raksha, the Ek-ZekKil performed similarly to Vorago in the sense that it wasn't perfectly well suited to the boss fight. The first reason for that is because if you're using it to get a pool skip and you use your first Ek-ZekKil spec at the very beginning of the fight, you still need to wait for the 1 minute mark in order to get it, which is going to be significantly slower than if you were doing a skip with best in slot magic or with best in slot ranged. With that said though, if you want a really easy way to get a pool skip even at a slightly slower kill time, this isn't a bad way to go about it, and you will end up skipping just over the 1 minute mark pretty much every single time. But my main gripe with the Ek-ZekKil at Raksha is actually that your Flamebound rival clears between phases 3 and 4, similar to how it clears at Zamorak between phases 6 and 7. The J-mods have said they're looking into this, so we could see this changing in a future update. If this does change in the future, the Ek-ZekKil would be an awesome weapon at Raksha, but as of right now, I wouldn't consider it a complete game changer. But what is a game changer for my bank is getting 550 million coins in the form of a Greater Chain ability codex. With Raksha out of the way, let's complete an Elite Dungeon Trilogy run, meaning I'm going to complete Elite Dungeons 1, 2, and 3 in succession. For starters, this probably goes without saying, but because the Ek-ZekKil doesn't have the 2-tile range of something like a Noxious Scythe, it is not terribly good for the mob clears, and I would strongly recommend bringing something like a Scythe or a Masuda's War Spear for clearing all of the mobs in the Elite Dungeon. But we're mostly here to talk about the bosses, so let's start things off with the Sanctum Guardian. At the Sanctum Guardian, the Ek-ZekKil performed just okay, namely because the kill time is under a minute, which means I was able to get a Flamebound rival and use the special attack a first time, but I was not able to benefit from that second special attack that does an absolute ton of damage. That being said, this was a boss where I could really feel the 12% damage reduction from having a rival, and it made a noticeable difference in terms of not getting absolutely blasted. But next up, let's get to Masuda, where the Ek-ZekKil special attack absolutely thrived, because you've got that water phase that is extremely lengthy in the middle of the fight, which is a perfect waiting period of time for your Ek-ZekKil to not only come off cooldown, but be completely charged up and ready to go for that second special attack. And with the power of that Ek-ZekKil special attack on the last phase, I was actually able to cruise to a personal record that was faster than my previous best time from when Necromancy had just come out and was completely and utterly overpowered. So overall at Masuda, I'm gonna say that the Ek-ZekKil performed extremely well. But what about Seiryu? Well, Seiryu is one of the bosses where the Ek-ZekKil does not perform very well at all, because while it's nice to get the special attack off on the head, the way you complete the boss fight is by killing the 3 crystals on Seiryu's back, and these are all separate targets. This means on these secondary targets, the Ek-ZekKil special attack is basically useless, and you would be way better off using something like Langswords, which is what I actually had to do in order to get myself a 1 cycle. If I'd been camping the Ek-ZekKil for the entirety of the 1 cycle, well, it wouldn't have been a 1 cycle at all, it would have been a 2 cycle. That being said, if you're someone who's not quite getting 1 cycles at Seiryu, you actually might be relatively well served with the Ek-ZekKil, because what you could do is after finishing that first cycle, when you get brought back downstairs and need to do another 300,000 damage to Seiryu, well, you've probably got the first 120,000 damage covered just by using Chaos Roar and that Ek-ZekKil spec. That being said, this is definitely one of the limitations of the Ek-ZekKil. It's just not nearly as good at a boss fight where you've got a number of different targets. But what about Elite Dungeon 2? For this one, I want to mention that in a lot of instances when you're doing Elite Dungeon 2, you would be on a dragon cluster task or some sort of dragon task to give yourself an extra 12.5% damage. But I wanted to see how the Ek-ZekKil would perform without a Dragon Slayer task at all. At Astalarn, I cruised to a pretty reliable kill, but the boss fight is too short to get that second Ek-ZekKil spec. But fortunately for me, Veraklith was not the same story. After getting things started with a pretty standard Berserk rotation and then waiting for the 1 minute mark of the fight, we were able to go absolutely crazy. I'm gonna hit the Chaos Roar, I'm gonna hit the Overpower, and then I'm gonna EZK to finish off the boss fight. Also did want to mention, this is kind of a mistake. You're definitely better off using Chaos Roar with the EZK spec instead of using Chaos Roar Overpower. But either way, the dragon died in short order, so I'm not gonna complain. But what about the Blackstone Dragon? For this one, I want to go for an infamous Blackstone Dragon flight skip with melee and also without a Slayer task. This is something that is relatively difficult to do in a lot of instances, and especially considering I am missing out on all of that extra damage from being on a Slayer task, I'm actually not too sure what to expect from this, and I don't know how this is gonna go. But the phase 1 started off pretty strong with a nice little pre-phase, and now as I kill the Black Hand phase, you're gonna see my Ek-ZekKil cooldown going down, and setting myself up for a massive combo that should be able to do 120,000 damage during my flight skip. This kind of feels like Araxxor, where I've done my Ek-ZekKil spec and I've got my Flamebound Rival set, and the black hands are a perfect buffer for the cooldown so that when it's time to do as much damage as I possibly can, I should be in a good position to do just that. And in the end, that is exactly what happened, as I was able to output an absolutely ridiculous amount of damage, cruising my way to a Blackstone Dragon flight skip despite not being on a Slayer task at all. Overall, if you're someone who's going for the Blackstone Dragon Master or Grandmaster combat achievement times, the Ek-ZekKil is a really good way to do it, because you're going to get so much extra damage on that skip that it's going to be way easier than with a lot of other styles. At the same time though, if I was tasked with doing a bunch of Elite Dungeon 2, I'd probably prefer to use Necromancy or Magic, just because it's going to be a little bit better on the mob clears, and your performance isn't going to be that much worse on the bosses. With that said though, if you're someone that likes meleeing, the Ek-ZekKil is really fun to use at Elite Dungeon 2. But how is the Fire Sword going to fare under the water? To find out, let's head to Elite Dungeon 3 and see what happens. At the Crassian Leviathan, we have the first genuine surprise of mine in this video, which is that even though the boss fight is short, I was able to absolutely blast here, and that includes using the Ek-ZekKil special to get a Flamebound Rival at the very beginning. And just like that, I managed to cruise myself to a 24-second personal record at the Crassian Leviathan. This kind of breaks the logic we were leading up to earlier in this video that says that the Ek-ZekKil is particularly good on boss fights that are over a minute long. And I think in some instances, people are undervaluing how big of a difference it is to get an extra 12% damage once you have a Flamebound Rival set. But what about a Taraket? At Taraket, I want to do something a little bit different, because if you're anything like me, you do not like using Berserk while you're getting absolutely blown to smithereens by the minions and the bloats and Taraket all at the same time. So I thought, what if we could just skip half of the boss fight? And that is exactly what I did. I went into the instance and I immediately used the Ek-ZekKil spec. And then after that, I just waited in the boss fight tanking the auto attacks for a full minute. And then after that, as soon as my special attack was available again, it was time to blast off. I got Taraket to just under 300,000 life points, I used Berserk, I used Greater Barge, I bled an Assault, and then it was as easy as using the Ek-ZekKil spec and throwing down a Hurricane to finish the job. As much as this probably isn't the most realistic way to do Taraket if you were actually doing Elite Dungeon 3, it's a really cool example of how much damage the Ek-ZekKil does, because any other method of getting a Taraket skip would be significantly more difficult than this. Moving on from Taraket, let's make things a little bit more interesting here and try to use the Ek-ZekKil to get an Ambassador beam skip. This is one of the more difficult skips in the entire game because you need to take the Ambassador from above 650,000 life points to below 550,000 life points in only a few game ticks. If you can do it, you're gonna skip the entire beam section and likely cruise your way to a very easy personal record. But the DPS window to do this is extremely tight. I want to mention that if I were going to go for my first ever Ambassador beam skip, I think you're way better off doing this with Leng Swords and doing some sort of combo with Overpower and a Leng special attack. But I was able to get it done with the Ek-ZekKil by using Chaos Roar and then stalling a Dragon Claw special attack into an Overpower into a Hurricane. And just like that, we've got 150,000 damage done in about 2 seconds. The other really cool thing about doing this skip this way is at the very end of my Berserk, my Ek-ZekKil special attack had come off cooldown, allowing me to press the button for another 80,000 damage. This led to an extremely easy, extremely fun Ambassador beam skip, but I'm not gonna lie, this took me about 2 hours to get. A lot of that was because I was learning new mechanics, and a lot of it was skill issue, but still. If I were doing this again in the future, I would still use the Ek-ZekKil for the special attack, but the actual skip part, I'd probably do it with Lengs. But overall, if you're someone that likes melee and you like the Ek-ZekKil, it is an extremely fun weapon to bring here, and it performs really nicely. With a successful Elite Dungeon trilogy out of the way, let's head into the Elder Godwarriors dungeon and try out some Hardmode Kerapac. I want to mention here that I am not on a Node and Dragonkin Slayer task, so there is a good chunk of damage missing. But despite that, I actually found the Ek-ZekKil special attack to be pretty useful. Because it's a special attack and not an ability, I can't use Warp Time to effectively give it no cooldown, so you are going to have to wait a minute between every single time you use it. But even with that limitation, I found it extremely useful. Any time during phases 2 or 3 that I felt I was a bit short on damage and I was worried about possibly getting a lightning wall, it was as easy as using that easy K spec to make sure it didn't happen. And then by far the best application of the Ek-ZekKil special attack was on phase 4 of Hardmode Kerapac for a couple reasons. First off, having a rival means you take 12% less damage, and I was getting blasted noticeably less by Kerapac while I was dealing with the clones. On top of that, once you've dealt with the clones, Kerapac has 200,000 life points, which is a lot more easy to deal with when your first 2 abilities deal 120,000 damage just like that. Melee solo hardmode Kerapac is still probably not the most beginner-friendly of things, but it is extremely fun and it's very satisfying once you learn it and you're able to pull it off. And overall, I would strongly recommend the Ek-ZekKil here. Not only did it perform well, but it felt very well suited to all of the difficulties that you face in this boss fight. But last but not least, let's head to the Arch-Glacor, which is another boss that I would probably not strongly recommend bringing melee to. Despite melee being considered a pretty iffy choice for the Arch-Glacor, I was able to absolutely cruise to the 1000% Enrage mastery time, which is a kill time of under 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Okay, with an absolute ton of bosses tested out, it's time for me to give you my final thoughts on the Ek-ZekKil. Overall, it feels like this Ek-ZekKil has completely given melee its identity back. Melee is a combat style that is completely plagued by trade-offs. The Vestments of Havoc robes have terrible defensive stats, your ultimate ability Berserk is shorter than the other combat styles' ultimates, and on top of that, you have to deal with the constant disadvantage of always having to be in melee distance. But now, finally, melee has something that it does better than anything else, which is to be able to burst an absolute ton of damage with the Ek-ZekKil in short order. To me, the new Ek-ZekKil is a perfect addition to the melee kit. Not only does the passive improve 3 melee abilities being Smash, Quake, and Pulverize, but the special attack is just so fun to use. And the other thing I really like about it is it's not a complicated special attack. Using this thing isn't like using a Bow of the Last Guardian where you have to spend a lot of time managing it and counting stacks. This is as easy as putting it on, and then whenever it's off cooldown, if you press the button, you are going to hit like a bus. Overall for me, I'm really happy to see melee getting some of its identity back, because I think we can all agree that if any of the styles should be able to burst like crazy, it should probably be melee, and now melee does exactly that. But with that said, I'm gonna pass the question off to you. What do you think about the brand new Ek-ZekKil? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Let me know in those comments down below. Outside of that, subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you very soon for the next one. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.